Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're unpacking something that can absolutely transform your manufacturing business. We're going to uncover how upgrading your manufacturing standards does way more than just ensure safety. It actively unlocks premium markets, highly lucrative contracts, and entirely new tiers of revenue. Okay, let's dive right into this idea because it's a real game changer. In the world of pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, and health supplements, your facility's Good Manufacturing Practice Standard, or GMP, is so much more than just a compliance checklist. Think of a baseline GMP as a domestic ID card. It lets you operate locally. But an elite GMP standard, that acts as a golden international passport. It basically tells global regulators and top-tier hospital buyers that your facility is operating at the absolute highest level of precision and safety. So, here's our roadmap for today. 1. The foundation of GMP. 2. Global GMP standard tiers. 3. WHO versus PICS sauce standards. 4. Bidding rules and revenue. And finally, number 5, the 7 certification steps. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the foundation of GMP. At its core, GMP is essentially an invisible shield protecting human health. The whole philosophy here is simple, but it is incredibly powerful. Quality absolutely must be built into the product at every single stage. I mean, from the exact moment raw materials enter your loading dock, all the way to the final packaging. You can't just test a product at the end of the line, cross your fingers, and call it safe. GMP controls the entire environment to guarantee consistency. Achieving this standard means you have to adhere to 10 core principles. You aren't just putting up walls and designing a facility. You are writing the exact standard operating procedures for literally everything. You're defining roles, you're constantly training staff, maintaining immaculate hygiene, and performing relentless self-audits. It's a total top-down culture of quality. And yeah, for sure, it's a whole lot of paperwork too. Now, you might be thinking, that's a lot to manage, but honestly, all 10 of those principles really just boil down to mastering 5 core elements to prevent contamination. First, you have to lock down your people, making sure they are thoroughly trained. You've got to control your materials for full traceability. Your machines and facilities, they must be perfectly calibrated. Your methods, meaning those bulletproof written procedures, have to be precise. And finally, your environment, things like your air handling and clean rooms, they must be immaculate. Moving right along to Section 2, Global GMP Standard Tiers. Because, let's face it, not all GMPs are created equal. You've got your baseline standards, like WHO-GMP for pharma or CGMP for ASEAN cosmetics, and those are excellent starting points for local, domestic operation. But if you want to export to high-value markets, you need that golden passport. We're talking about elite standards like EU-GMP in Europe, the FDA's CGMP in the States, and PICS-GMP, which is recognized by over 46 member countries globally. But you've got to keep in mind, the rules of the game at this elite level, they are constantly evolving. Take the 2023 UE-GMP Annex 1 revision, for example. Huge shift. This update mandates a highly strict, holistic contamination control strategy, specifically for sterile medicinal products. It literally places quality risk management at the very foundation of all decisions and vastly expands the requirements for cleanroom barrier technologies. If you want to export sterile products to Europe today, well, this is your new rulebook.
Which brings us to Section 3, WHO versus PICS standards.
The leap between these two is wild. It's a complete philosophical shift from reactive to proactive manufacturing. Under the basic WHO guidelines, quality risk management is only mentioned a couple of times. But PICS/, they demand an entire annex, Annex 20, dedicated exclusively to it. Elite facilities don't wait around to react to problems. They systematically identify and mitigate risks way before a machine is even turned on. And it's not just the philosophy. The physical hardware requirements are completely different too. While WHO provides some basic validation guidelines, PICS requires far more rigorous, modern validation of your equipment. Under PICS Annex 15, you actually have to perform strict factory acceptance tests and site acceptance tests. You have to prove mathematically and systematically that your machinery does exactly what it was designed to do, every single time, no exceptions. Plus, PICS really tightens the grip on external factors. It dictates exactly how strictly you must vet your raw material suppliers, requiring these highly detailed sampling protocols under Annex 8. And if a customer complaint happens to come in, the investigation process has to go so much deeper than baseline WHO standards require. Literally every anomaly is treated as a critical data point to improve the entire system. All right, let's talk money. Section 4, bidding rules and revenue. This is where your GMP tier directly, and I mean directly, dictates your revenue ceiling. Let's look at frameworks like Vietnam's Circular 15. The highly lucrative premium hospital contracts in groups 1 and 2, those are reserved exclusively for drugs manufactured under elite standards like EU-GMP, PIC/S-GMP, or those from stringent regulatory authorities. If you only hold a baseline WHO-GMP certificate, you are completely locked out of those top tiers. You're basically stuck competing on price in groups 3, 4, and 5. And remember, the stakes in these bids are incredibly high. Once you win a bid under these rules, you are legally bound to fulfill at least 80% of the signed contract value. For really critical items like emergency medicines or antidotes, the minimum is 50%. If you fail to meet that delivery threshold, facility leaders actually have to report and explain the failure to authorities. It's a huge risk to your reputation and your future market access. So, how do we actually get there? Section 5, the 7 certification steps. Getting to that elite level is definitely a rigorous journey. You start with a brutally honest gap analysis of exactly where your facility currently falls short. That analysis then informs your facility design, so meticulously planning out your layout, material flows, and clean rooms, which then leads into building this massive library of standard operating procedures and quality manuals. The foundation has to be absolutely flawless before you ever power on a single piece of equipment. Then you bring in the human element. Step 4 is training your staff so everyone understands their specific role in the GMP ecosystem. Step 5, you run a live trial operation to test the system. Step 6 is a ruthless internal audit to actively look for and fix your own flaws. Only then do you bring in the official certifiers for that final audit, the day everyone's holding their breath, to finally secure your golden passport to international markets. Look, at the end of the day, quality systems go way beyond mere compliance. They are the actual engines of your business growth. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Are you prepared to put in the rigorous work to elevate your facility to the elite level? Or are you willing to accept the real financial cost of just staying at the baseline? The market is shifting, folks. The choice is yours. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.